Okay, hi everyone. Wanted to try to get another gaming video on the table. I was going to play Pikeman's Lament at first to do this scenario, which I'll explain the setup here in a minute. My cat likes to kick my D6 around, and they're currently all scattered around my apartment. And to be honest, first of all, I didn't really feel like picking them all up, but I also just didn't feel like throwing buckets of dice today, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try something a little different. So I got Castles and Crusades recently, and what I think I'm going to do today is kind of experiment using kind of the combat system in here to play a game like this. Now, I'm sure they probably have some kind of mass combat rules. I don't think it's not in the player's handbook I have, but I'm sure that's out there. But just today I'm doing my own thing just to try it out, see what happens. And also because I wanted to try to game a little more narratively, because I think sometimes when I do these gaming videos, and maybe this is why I haven't been as motivated, as I just sort of feel they're a little too mechanical when I get bogged down in like the rules. And I know Pikeman's Lament at least has a character system for your leader, but today I'm going to try to play more narratively. So our setup here, we're in the border between the Ottoman Empire and the Habsburg Empire and Hungary, and we have a kind of convoy. So we've got the wagon train here. These are my Cossack wagons, but they're going to be Hungarian wagons today, and they're probably going to be transporting the pay for the garrison. And we have our new fortress commander. We'll call him, I think he's going to be German, so we'll call him Rudolf. Rudolf von Hotzendorf. There's a nice German noble name. And he's going to be our commander. And then he's got some German musketeers with him, and he's got his own retinue of German cavalry. So this is late 16th century cavalry, mid to late, I guess, anyway. But then as an escort, he's got some Hungarian Haijuks. These were pretty tough fighters in the period of Ottoman rule in Hungary, really good at ambushing, but they're going to be kind of the guide. So we've got about 6 mounted, and we've got 6 on foot. And then for our Ottomans, so the Ottoman garrison commander has caught wind of this, and he decides that he's going to go attack the convoy and take the money. Now, that's probably going to get him in trouble with the governor in Buda, the Ottoman governor in Buda, because, they don't really like this kind of stuff, but attacking without provocation anyway. But our local Ottoman garrison commander, he's got some Tatars that have come to support him. So our Tatar commander here, we'll call him Özdemir Beg. He's going to be our commander for the Ottoman side. And also he has support from the actual Timariot cavalry in the garrison. So he's going to have some Timariots there to support him. And what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to roll with D20 to resolve the hits, and then I'm going to roll damage like you would in Castles and Crusades, kind of. But I think I'm just going to assign everything is going to get a hit point value, each unit. So everything mounted, I'm going to say, is just going to have 15 hit points. And then infantry is going to have 10 hit points. Even the smaller unit, they're also going to have 10 hit points because they're a little more seasoned fighters. And then in terms of hit resolution, the lighter cavalry, they're going to have 12. That also goes for the Crimean Tatars. and then our any of our armored cavalry. So these German guys, or the Timuriad, Ottoman Timuriads, they're going to have 15 armor class that they need to, and that's what they have to beat. So 12 and a 15, and that's in Castles and Crusades, like 12 AC 12s if you have leather armor, and if you have a chainmail hauberk, it's 15. So I think that's close enough to what I want to do. And then the other thing that I will do is I'm going to have, so I have these guys that are modeled to be like kind of the Tatars. Some of them have lassos. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have these guys have a kind of special rule that if they get into contact, they can try to capture the enemy unit. Now, this is something I've talked about in old videos to try and implement into games, but I think in a more kind of skirmish level game like this, and in my mind, for our figure scale, it's pretty much, one to one figure is one guy, or maybe two guys, something like that. But anyway, small skirmish, and I think that would be more fitting in a battle like this. So our objectives. So what are our objectives? So I think, what objective? So the objectives for the Habsburgs are pretty clear cut. They just want to get off the board, basically. And for movement rates, well, we'll talk about that in a second. They just want to get off the board, okay? And then our Ottomans, now they want to capture the convoy, or the wagons. They want the stuff in the wagons, but they probably don't want to take too many losses. So I'm going to, if the Tatars begin to take too many losses, they're probably just going to cut and run and live to fight another day. Whereas the Ottoman Timurids might want to stay in the fight. They're a little more kind of, they kind of have that sense, they have that kind of sensibility about them. So, but if the Timurids lose, start to take heavy losses, they eventually will leave the field as well. So something like that. Now, another thing is how to do morale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say once they've dropped to 1/3 of their hit points, so that would be 5 for cavalry and we'll say 3 for infantry. They're going to have to make a save on a d20, and what would that be? So I'm going to just quickly come up with two ratings. So we've got kind of maybe like A and B, and these guys are going to be B. So our German soldiers are going to be a B morale rating, because they're not really from here. This is just kind of their assignment. And when they start to take casualties, they're going to need to save on an 18, which is kind of high, but and then for our Hungarians, they're gonna save on a 12, and that's the 12-18 thing in Castles and Crusades. And I think for our Ottoman Timurids, they're gonna save on a 12, Tatars on an 18. Again, I'm experimenting, so that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And maybe this won't really work. Maybe this will kind of be a mess, but let's give it a try. So first, I'm just going to have initiative. Well, one thing I want to do, so I'm going to play this from the perspective of the Habsburgs, and I'm going to say I don't know what's out there. So maybe we know that there are some Tatars in the area that are working with this Ottoman garrison commander. We know, we think his name is Özdemir Beg. We don't know. and we're transporting the this wagon stuff, this stuff in the wagon, the pay, and the other supplies. So I think what I'm gonna do first is our Hijukes are kind of riding out as scouts, and I'm gonna say they'll succeed on like a perception check on a 12, but I'm going to make an opposed roll that the Tatars can beat. If they beat a 12, they will not be detected by the Hungarian guys, and these guys can also do some scouting because that's what they're there for. So even though I've got the Ottoman side set up, they're really not there, so they might come in somewhere else. And I think what I'm going to do when they do decide to come in, I'm going to randomize it, and I'm just going to make it pretty easy. So because I've got the 3 kind of trees here, so for each unit of Tatars, I'm going to go. This will be. Let's go left to right. So we'll have this sector here. That's going to be 1 to 2. In the middle, 3 to 4, and back here, 5 to 6. Now, if they come in, like in this sector, they can attack them head on without kind of, being seen. So, all right, we're going to do some scouting moves. I'm not going to have like a precise turn structure, but again, this is just going to be a kind of experiment. So, let me get my dice out here. So, let's see. Yeah, so they're going to make a scouting move. So they're going to get let's see. So I'm going to see if, okay, they got a 12, so they can see something. And now I'm going to roll, but let's see if a unit of Turks or Tatars is not detected. So I got a 12, but let's see if they can beat 12. Oh, okay, I couldn't see that, so I'm going to re-roll that. 11. So, okay, so they beat it. All right. So now we're going to have one of the units spawn in or come in on one of these sectors. I'm going to roll off to see where they come in. 4. Okay, so they're going to come in kind of in the middle. And what unit will come in the middle? I think I will have. So, all right, trying to play this narratively. So the Timurids are probably going to hang back because they're more shock cavalry. Although they could kind of come in and try to crash through the lines, but they are. This could be kind of difficult to charge out through the woods because we're just going to assume that this is like kind of more dense shrubs and stuff. Yeah, I think it's just going to be some regular Tatars. They're going to come out kind of in the middle and and they're going to fire. So they've burst out, and they were not detected by the advanced guard. So they're going to burst out and they're going to attack. And I'm going to give for hit points. How many hit points should it be? Yeah. I'm going to do the whole wagon train is going to have 30 hit points. But if they are not, if like by the end of the game, if they have no supporting units, and no matter how many hit points they have, they're going to be down. So, okay. So they're going to burst out, and they're going to have a little bit of opportunity. I'm not going to do any like surprise modifiers or anything just while I'm doing this kind of experiment. So they're going to attack the lead cavalry unit here, Now these guys are kind of armored, so they might not hit, but let's see, let's go ahead and roll. So they're going to need a 15. And I'm also not doing any dex or strength bonuses in this, just to keep it going. If I kind of keep developing this, I might use like write up character sheets for these units. But anyway, I'm gonna keep playing. So okay, that's an 8, so that misses. So they fire all their arrow. They loose their arrows and they fire, and they just maybe they make some hits, but it doesn't really work. And okay, so now how do we want to do this? So normally we would roll for initiative in. So how does initiative work in Castles and Crusades? And do we need to? Because I might just be able to give. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to check this rule, and then we will keep playing. Okay, so all right, now I think we can go ahead and do initiative. Now the rest of the Tatars still haven't revealed themselves yet, so now we're going to do initiative, and let's go ahead and roll that. So, all right, so how do we want to do this? Okay, well, all right, so I'm just going to go right to left. So we've got our infantry here. Now, they are line infantry, so they probably are going to need to use a move to get into formation to shoot in a line. So they're not going to be like the Hijooks that are kind of more skirmishers that they can, they're kind of used to shooting, in an open order kind of thing. All right. So that's 10. Okay, so they're probably going to go first, so I'm going to go ahead and just put this 1 here, so that's going first. These guys, 7, that might be second, so I'll just put another die there. 10, 7. Now we do have our officer, so, but I'm going to roll the wagons. We're probably not going to do too much. That's 3, so that's probably not going to be probably at the bottom of the stack. I'll roll for our officer. That's 80, but that's going to be an 8. So let's see, that was 10, 7. So, okay, so he's going to go second, and that's going to be third. These guys, 4. So okay, I'm just going to leave that. All right, so that's 4, and then 3, 4, and then the guys at the front, 10. So all right, so they're tied. They're actually going to tie for initiative, and then let's see, these guys are going to go 4th, and then these guys are going to go 5th. So that's our initiative order. And all right, now what do we want to do? So, okay. All right, so our infantry in the back, I think they're going to use their move, and they're not going to move advance. I think what they're going to do is, all right, they know something is coming from the trees, so I think their sergeant is saying, to kind of get into line and take position, and they're going to try to kind of take a position like that. All right, who's next? So our lead, our Hungarian scouts, so they're our Hijuk. They're gonna, I think they're gonna, their move, they're gonna see if they can detect another, actually, here's what I'll do. They're gonna make a half move, and they're gonna kind of like wheel around, and they're gonna try to see if what they can see. So let's just go ahead and roll. Okay, that's a 6, so they don't see anything, but they are just going to make a kind of half move. I'm not going to strictly measure this, and they're just going to kind of turn and face those guys. Maybe they just kind of made a quick, sort of look around, and then they're going to turn and face the Tatars. Um, okay, so that's 2 units done. And then okay, who's next initiative-wise? These our officer. So our officer is thinking, okay, now we have Tatars. There's probably more of them. I think what he's going to do is he's just going to kind of ride back and meet with the and kind of get the infantrymen sorted out, make sure they're prepared. So there's Captain von Hotzendorf. Our Hijuk, they're going to just, it's not really a move because they're just kind of turning in position, and they're going to go ahead and fire. For damage, I'm going to say firearms are going to do a D8, and they will need to beat a 12 on leather armor. Not that would really stop a bullet, but my thinking is it's also factoring in like they're using matchlocks, and that's kind of, they're taking aim, so they might just miss. Okay, so all right, let's see if they can get a 12 or better against light armor. 15, yep. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and roll a D8. And wow, okay, so that's an 8. So they get into position, and they've been through these battles before, and they have their muskets at the ready, and they fire into the Tatars, and they take 8 points of damage, so they're down to 7 hit points. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some mini dice down, so they're now at 7 hit points. And I think for close combat, I'm just going to do D10s for damage, whether that's cavalry or if we have some infantry close combat. I doubt it, but yeah, or how should I do this? Because I'm kind of brainstorming this while I'm playing, so sorry about that. Yeah, I think infantry, even if they're close combat, it's going to be D8 still, and then cavalry is going to use a D10. I think that'll keep things simple. Okay, so they took pretty heavy damage. All right, who's next? Now we've got our, I kind of skipped some people. The wagon train can't really do too much. They can't really move, because also the cavalry have to kind of they have to kind of get into position, because they're like kind of shock cavalry too. So I think what they're going to do, okay, what would our cavalry lieutenant or sergeant want to do? Again, because I'm trying to use this game to wargame a little more narratively. So, all right, so they know there's an ambush, and they know there are Turks around. Now these guys are shock cavalry, but I think what they're going to do, I think they will. Yeah, I think they're just going to turn and face for now. They don't really know what's happening, and they're just kind of on the road, so there's really not much for them to charge against. They can't really see anything, because now we've got like some smoke in the battlefield. All right, so that completes the first kind of combat phase. All right, now I'm going to roll to see where the rest of the Ottomans are going to come on, but I'm going to do this. What would our commander want, our Tatar commander want to do? So probably he's seen that, some of his men have gotten hit by musket fire, and he's going to try to maybe he's going to try to have these other guys kind of flank around. I don't really have precise movement rates, but I think I'm going to go ahead and say, 3 inches for infantry, and then 7 inches for light cavalry, 6 inches for medium cavalry. I think that seems sensible enough. So, but I am going to still roll to see where they come on. So, all right, so let's do this again. So again, I'm gonna, are kind of rough sectors. So let's see where this next batch of Tatars is going to come on. So that's a 1. So they're going to come on. Okay, so this is actually pretty advantageous. So they're going to come on over on this flank. So he's sent them around, and they're going to come on here. And then they're going to fire their bows. Well, these guys are kind of more like have hand weapons, so they're just going to come on and do that. But I think they're going to try to close with these Haijuks, because they probably are not familiar with fighting these guys. They just probably look like some other kind of European cavalry. So they're going to try to close and fight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an opposed d20 roll here, because the Haijuks might be able to turn and kind of react. And do they want to evade, or do they want to maybe return? They could fire from the saddle maybe, or they could just, I'm sure they have swords. They could just like close, but probably they want to turn and fire. So let's just do an opposed roll here, with success on, we'll do, we'll just do a straight up opposed roll. So 17 for the Tatars, pretty good roll, and a 4 for the Haijuks. Okay, so the Haijuks are preoccupied looking at the tree line, and in the meantime, these Tatars have swung around, and they're now going to close. So I think they should have enough room to close. So yeah, they're going to go ahead and close and attack like that. And now we're going to do, again, I'm not going to do any modifiers for like surprise or flank attacks. I'm just going to, so as the Tatars close, these guys, in the last kind of, moment or two, they're going to turn and face, but the Tatars are going to attack first. So that's a 6, so they do not hit, actually. So now our 18, so that's a hit, and we're going to go ahead and do D10 for cavalry damage, and that's 3. So not a great hit, but it's something. So that's going to be there. So they're down to 12 hit points. So that's that's minus 3 hit points for them. Okay, so that's that resolved. What do these guys want to do? So they're probably going to want to just try to backtrack through the forest, but they are wounded, and it is kind of rough terrain. They don't have the kind of, it's not like when they were sort of waiting to spring this ambush, that they could kind of move kind of calmly through the woods. So they're going to go ahead and try to escape, but I'm going to say they're going to need a what will they need? I'm going to say they're going to need an 18 to make a successful retreat. Okay, 18. They actually did get it. All right, so they're just going to retreat, but that's going to be all their actions this round. Is they're just going to retreat back into the woods. Now they could come back and attack again. They could kind of come through the gaps here, but they're kind of done for now. Okay, so our Ottoman commander, he has he has 2 more units in reserve that he could deploy, and they're not really in the combat yet, so they're not, in my mind, they're not yet subject to kind of not morale, but initiative. But okay, I think that Tamarians, what would they be thinking? I think they're going to think that clearly the Tatars have not been able to get the job done right, so now they're going to enter the combat, and this lead group of Timarians, they're going to try to come through this kind of like opening in the tree line, and let's see, or yeah, they're just going to come through this opening. Well, or an opening. Let's see. I'm still going to roll because it might make it more interesting for me. Okay, 5. So, in the meantime, as the Tatars were retreating, these guys can kind of see what's going on here. It's clearly not the sort of immediate success that they had in mind. So, these Tamarians, they've decided they're going to try to move. While all that was going on, they're going to move around and attack from the flank. So they're going to move in, and all right, and I'm going to make opposed rolls again. Who kind of can attack? So who's going to attack first? I guess I could do a D10 initiative roll, but I'm already kind of messing up with the actual like Castles and Crusades rules, and I'm kind of experimenting, like I said. So yeah, I'm just going to do opposed D20 rolls. So all right, that's a 19 for our Timarians and a 13 for our German infantrymen. So they don't really they can't really respond in time, so the Timarians crash into them. These guys are pretty lightly armored, so they're just going to have a 12 and well, even less than that, because they're not really wearing any armor. We'll just do 12. And yep, that's a hit for the Tamarians. And what did I say? Yeah, they're going to have 10 hit points. So they might be completely flanked and killed. So that's 8 hit points. So they're down to 2 hit points. All right. Now our officer here, what is he going to do? All right, so he has, so these infantrymen have been really crushed, down to 2, and you know what, I'm going to kind of pull one base off just to show that they've been kind of crushed and killed. And all right, now I think our captain, he's going to be pretty brave, and he's going to turn and face, but and he's going to make an attack of his own. And I will, or do we want to have something where, because these guys would make a kind of like mandatory sweeping advance because they did so well, but they didn't destroy the unit. There's still a couple guys left. So, or, a few guys left. So yeah, they're still in the fight. They've kind of turned to face, but they're not, they're obviously not doing too well. And they're going to, the officer, since he's, still fresh, he's going to attack. So he's going to roll against a 15 on the armor of the Turk. Nope, he misses. So he tries to attack and he misses. And I think for the single base, like the hero characters, they're only going to get a D6 because they're fewer. Fewer in number. I think that's fair, D6. Okay, and then these guys probably should suffer a penalty because they took major casualties. So, yeah, they're not really combat effective right now. I'm going to say they're suffering from some kind of shock. And then our last Ottoman unit, I'm going to see where they come on the field. So let's go ahead and roll. That's a 1. So I think they had the same idea. So they decided that, well, this combat is going on. Okay, they're going to come around and bring this other flank. So they're here. But when they get here, they see that these guys are locked in combat, and the Tatars haven't been able to disengage because they kind of failed their attack. So they're sort of behind them, but they can't really do much. Okay, all right. Now pretty much everyone's in combat, and then we just have our commander. I think he's gonna ride out and try to support these Tatars over here. So he's just gonna go kind of like this, and just be kind of around in the fight. Now, if the Haijuks saw him or could intervene, they would know that he's like a high-value kind of guy to capture. But these German mercenaries, they don't really know that, so they're just going to see him, the Tatar officer and or command lord, really, and his retinue and his followers. They're just going to see there's a couple of Tatars. They're not really going to know, the importance of him, because he would be important to capture for information or for ransoming later. Yeah, all right, now that everyone is pretty much in the combat, now I think we can do like kind of normal initiative. This might get a bit too much, so hopefully not. And now I've kind of used these mini dice as casualty markers. Well, you know what? I do have these dice as they're a slightly different color. Anyway, okay, we'll just try to keep it all straight. So let's go here. We'll just roll right to left on the table. So I'm gonna go ahead and do D10 or let's see, we could do group initiative, like all the, what would be better? No, I'd rather do individual unit by unit initiative, because I don't want to kind of completely I go, you go effect. So, all right, so let's go first. We've got, oh wait, these guys have, okay, they're down to two hit points left. Okay, so we've got a 3, so they're going to be 3. Our German, our Habsburg officer, he got an 8. So 3, 8. Let's see. Can the wagons even do anything? They should have initiative. I mean, they're modeled with guys with muskets in them, but for our game today, they're just going to be like transporting stuff. They don't have armed crewmen, so they're not really combat effective. They can move, but they can't really do much else. Okay, let's go ahead and roll the infantry men. 1. Okay, so that's really not going to help them, but all right, so it's going to be 1. Haijuks over here, 7, so that's pretty good. Kind of running out of dice. Hopefully I'm not. Okay. Heavy cavalry here, the German heavy cavalry, 2, so not that great. Our Tatars in the back, it's another 3. Tatar commander, That's another 3. So let's see. Just gonna put this down. So it's 3. Hijux over here. Oh, hopefully this doesn't fall over. Okay. 2. So again, not great. Tatars, 3. And these Timariats in the back, 4. Do I have another? I think I am out of dice. Oh, one of my normal dice is actually over here. So, all right, so 4. Okay, so what do we have here? So we've got our highest number is 8. We've got an 8, a 7, and everybody else rolled pretty low for initiative. I guess I will roll the wagons, just what, at 4. Okay, probably not going to be able to do too much. So it's 4, but never know. Well, in my desire to not be rolling buckets of dice, I ended up needing buckets of dice to put, initiative numbers. But next time I'm just going to have a piece of paper or a notebook with me just to mark it down. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and try to resolve this combat. And so we've got 8. Well, we've got, 8. So our German officer, he's going to try to attack these Timariats. He's a pretty tough guy. So maybe he has some experience fighting with the Habsburgs in Spain or in the Netherlands or something. So he's going to go ahead and try to attack. What is that? 16. So that's a hit. But he's only going to get a D6. So that's a 5. So they are now up to 8 casualties. And I don't have another, So they're up to 8 casualties or 8 minus 8 hit points. So they're at 7 hit points. Okay. What's next? Now we've got these Hijux over here. Now they're skirmishers, so on the one hand, they could try to make a break for it to kind of try to grapple with this Tatar commander to get a nice ransom captive. However, he is kind of far away and he is mounted, so he could just ride away and evade them. So I think what our Hijux are going to do, they're going to turn and they're just going to maneuver and get into fire at these Timariats. Kind of a risky shot, because we do have the infantrymen there, but there are only a few of them left, so they probably have a clear target. If they had more troops, if more of the German infantrymen were still alive, I would say that they wouldn't really have a clear shots. But since we can say that there's only a few of them left, they have a clear shot, so they're going to go ahead and roll. And that's against male, so they don't hit. So they turn, they fire their muskets or their arquebuses, and they don't. Nothing happens. So they kind of miss, I guess, or they just don't really inflict any damage. Okay, who's next? Now we have a bunch of ties. So let's see. What to do next? Okay, so we have 4 and 2 4s. So the wagon can't really do too much. It can't really move out of the way. But you know what? I'm going to, yeah, they probably can't really move out of the way. It's just not really conducive. There's not really a lot of room. So they're just going to stay put. The crewmen are probably not, or the drivers are probably not really military people at all. So there's that. And then, so that's one of the 4s. Then we've got these Timarians over here that also got a 4. But they can't really charge through their own men because they're kind of locked into combat. But so they're just going to be there. And then now we've got 3s. So 3 here. I think, yeah, these guys also got 3, the regular Timarians. So we've got 2 combats kind of resolving simultaneously. So we've got these guys here. They're going to want to keep pushing through. But I think I should have done some kind of morale check because they're down to 2 casualties like the turn before. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to resolve that now, and they're going to need an 18. Nope, that's a 15. So they're out of here. So the few men, they break formation, they're out of here, and they're just gonna kind of take cover here, but they're not really combat effective. They're out of the fight pretty much. Okay, so now, yeah, these guys got a 3 as well. So they're going to attack the German officer. That's a 12, so that's a hit. And they're going to go ahead and roll for... Where's my other D10? There it is. That's a 9. So I'm going to say that the characters are going to have 15 hit points. I hope that doesn't contradict something I said earlier, but yeah, they're going to have 15 hit points, so he's down to 6. So it's going to be, yeah, down to 6 hit points left. Well, kind of counting down with all the others. So, all right, so 6 hit points left. These guys are minus 8 hit points. They're at 7. Okay, and then this other combat over here. Tatars against Haijuks, so they're going to strike, and now, can the Haijuks just disengage? I'm going to say that they probably would, and so I'm going to do an opposed roll. No, okay, I'm going to do it like this. If they make a if they make a hit against the Haijuks can roll and try to beat that number to disengage successfully. So let's go ahead and roll that. Okay, so the Tatars do not even hit. They're probably kind of disordered maybe. And then the Haijuks are going to try to roll to disengage. I'm going to say they need a 12 for that because that is one of their kind of, let's say, key skills. Nope, they don't disengage. They get a, would that be a 4? So yeah, they're not disengaging there. So they're just still kind of stuck in kind of a combat. And then we have 2 more 3s. So we've got our Tatar commander. I think he's going to try to attack from behind in support of these Haijuks. So he's going to roll. He's going to move up he's going to make a kind of a half move, and yeah, it'll be 3.5. So he's going to make a half move and then fire his bow, or his group is going to fire their bows. Nope, no hits. That's a 3. Okay. All right, now we've got 2s left, and that is, okay, that was the infantrymen, but they retreated. But now these guys are going to go ahead, they're going to make, let's see, can they make a half move and then engage to meet I kind of haven't been measuring precisely for this, but they're gonna move, and we're just gonna say our Tatar commander, he's gonna turn and face. And now, but he could disengage, so we're gonna do the same thing. So gonna go ahead and roll. These guys can, nope, they don't hit. That's not a hit. He can try and disengage. Yep, and he disengages, so he's just gonna make a half move back pretty much to where he was. Okay, this video is kind of running for a little while. I think, well, you know, I don't know what the solution would be. I might do a follow-up and play to the end and see what happens. But I intended this mostly as a kind of experiment into trying something a little different. All right, why don't I play one more move, a couple more moves, and then we'll see what happens. Because right now, it could go either way, really. So let's just go ahead and do a couple more moves and see what happens. Because the only unit that's really been destroyed are the German infantrymen, and that's about it. So do the other Tatars in the back that I forgot to do their move. How do I want to do this? Okay, I think I'm just gonna finish this one here. This is almost an hour-long video, which is already too long, I think. But yeah, this is just an experiment trying to use like a D20 system. Like I said, I'm sure for like actual Castles and Crusades, there's like a mass combat rules, either something Trollord published or you know, something somebody has written for it out there online. But I just wanted to try something that would be a little more narrative rather than mechanical, because just for my own motivation wargaming, I'm kind of not as interested in just the purely mechanical kind of gaming. And this was me being a little more free form and trying to make the decisions rather than based on like, okay, this is now the shooting phase, even though it kind of turned out that way, I think. But you know, trying to think about the rules more to facilitate a kind of, you know, narrative experience rather than sort of procedures, you know, procedures first, but rather than procedures complementing the kind of type of engagement. But I would have to say that I think for doing this sort of system where it's individual unit initiative with like kind of regular sort of RPG rules for these kind of Ottoman Hungarian skirmishes, I kind of like this. I tried a few years ago to do a similar sort of rule set that I wrote some notes for. Yeah, this was an experiment, and maybe it's interesting. If you have any suggestions, I think it worked well enough. I still need to come up with some more systematic kind of things, because this is not quite like a mass combat. It's just like a large scale skirmish. Yeah, maybe not a large skirmish, but a skirmish anyway. But not quite my point is, it's not quite like a mass combat as like most role-playing rules would, you know, consider like a mass combat, more like an army level war game, I think. All right, that's enough from me. Like I said, if you have any feedback or any comments, it's always welcome. That's constructive. Yeah, hope you at least enjoyed it. And have a good day, everyone.